Well, hello, and welcome once again to another demi-daily deep dive with your host, DBJ, a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing. Join me Monday through Friday as we talk about a different subject each day, although I do take the opportunity to possibly not be around one of those days during the week, just because it is difficult to do a live stream almost an hour Monday through Friday daily, like a daily show. But let's get to the point. What is today's subject? Well, in the headline for today's Tips and Tricks Tuesday, I put a touch of clean and dirt, a hint of evil. Maybe you get a sense of goodness or something, yin yang. Okay, real simple. If you have a real simple trick to do and something that can change the dynamic when you're as a game master, when your player characters are interacting with anything and everything in your world. If you have the idea to have your world with a great evil or very honorable people. Good morning, Prue Prue. You have a noble knight. You have an evil goblinoid horde. You have something that is on the extreme. Use just a little hint of its opposition. So, like the symbol, like the yin-yang symbol, where you have the merged, you have a field of white and a field of black, and inside the field of white, there's a little darkness, and inside the field of darkness, there's white. What you're doing here is you want to give off this idea that everything isn't literally or figuratively black and white. So I'll give you an exact example that I used in a game. There was this grandmother that made these really tasty pastries in the world, and everyone would come by and pick up her pastries. It was like this renowned. She was a baker, and everyone from anywhere would make these pastries. And in the game, some of my players actually brought back, I don't know how it was that she just made an impact, but they brought back these exotic fruits or something from this other world, and she made them into these pies and these cakes and stuff, and they really appreciated her. Well, what happened was in a game, I was stuck for an idea again. And so I had this, it was like a orc raiders or something like that, or an orc army was assembling or what have you. And they were coming to town, and when they got to town, the PCs were there. They were ready to fight. And what happened was they actually stopped on the outskirts of town for no other reason than to purchase those pastries. And the player characters were like, kind of thinking like, is this the game? Like, what's going on? And I was like, no, they're camped outside, and all they do is they just want the pastries. So the town's guard was there, and it was all this tension. And then the grandmother came out, and she, as normal, she was always positive and smiling and stuff like that. And she was like, well, I don't understand why everybody's having such a big deal. I'll just make some more pastries. So she made these desserts, and she brought them out on a plate, and then all the orcs were just like fawning over and these pastries because they just loved them so much. They could smell them from afar. The rumor has it that someone that they raided on the road had these pastries, and they needed to know where it came from. Hey, Jarl DM, good morning, DBJ. That's what he says. Thank you very much, sir. And congrats to yourself. So the idea is that what you want to do is you want to just take a little dynamic, and it's a real simple trick sometimes, right? You have a big bad that has treats animals really kindly. You have a noble knight that likes to smack children around or something. Just taking something and adding just a little hint of its extreme on the opposite end. If you have a noble city where, white spires and it's all goodness and light and healing and everyone loves each other and kumbaya, and then when you turn a corner, you come to find out that when children reach the age of 10, they take a ball-peen hammer and smash their left hand or something to show them that the world is cruel. And you're just like, wait, what? Huh? Why? What the hell? So you don't want to do anything like that. Your all DM says Hannibal, a maniac cannibal who lives an extremely clean life and adores cooking complicated, beautiful dishes. Absolutely. And sometimes we can easily fall into a routine, right? So it's the evil lich, it's undead, it's evil, it does evil things. I'm the big bad. But imagine an evil lich, and then there's an island community, and the evil lich has been protecting this island community with its power, right? And so if it wasn't for the protection of this idyllic island community, the lich might have been able to, rampage throughout the world, but instead has remained, relatively centralized because, it's stopping storms and, granting little bits of favor and healing and protection from the elements or something. And maybe the lich came from there, maybe not. Maybe the lich had a great love that had passed away years ago, and this great love said, I promise to protect them. The movie John Wick is a perfect example of this, where John Wick, he's a bad guy, right? He in the movie, everything about him would suggest to you that he's the bad guy. The hint that you get is A, he got out of the life, and B, some a-hole killed his puppy, right? So, and yes, I know the puppy represented the lost love of his wife and died, whatever. The bad guy killed his puppy. It pretty much explains any and everything that he did through the course of that movie. The point being is that without that hint, without that twist, without us knowing that, John Wick actually represents the bad guy. So we can use those techniques of mixing and matching goodness and evil, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a very big, grand thing. You don't have to have a grand evil that's like, I'm evil of incarnate, but I also want to heal the population. It doesn't need to be something big. It can be something very small. It could be a single NPC that this person adores. It could be a view from a mountainside that is idyllic and peaceful. If you've seen Avengers: Infinity War, that's a perfect example of a really big bad who showed actually multiple versions of the quote unquote good side, the pure side of his life. And you're just like, wait a minute, this is the bad guy, but there's this other thing. And that could, of course, be used and abused by the players in your game as well, for good or bad. So, for example, let's say that there is let's pick something. There's a Rakshasa that has always been in the background and has been sending out agents. It has like doppelganger agents that can hide in the crowds. It has Oni or Ogre Magi that are like lieutenants. And this Rakshasa has been in the background for years, and it's just been pulling the strings of the highest levels of government. But on the other hand, some agent has been tending these beautiful fields of flowers. And no matter what happens, for some reason, when armies clash, when people get together, they always avoid these beautiful fields of flowers, despite the fact that it makes sense territorially or not statistically. Why my brain go? Using tactics and strategy that, just stomp over the flowers. It doesn't really matter. Let's just go attack our neighbor or what have you. And so while the strings are being pulled in the background, maybe this Rakshasa just has this love of these flowers. And when Met has these flowers around them, its agents may wear a small flower in their lapel or in their hair, or in their backpacks or something. And this could be a symbol of that. And, maybe the Rakshasa is reluctant to have a confrontation, in these poppy fields or something of that nature. And it's like, no, I would rather, let's parlay, because this could have a very important influence on the NPC's life. Prue says many nasty types through history have been competent artists and writers as well. And that's a great thing too, because art and literature, song, music, dance, construction, maybe erecting monuments, the architectural style of buildings, the paintings on the side of them, maybe even propaganda or things of that nature. Those things represent everlasting culture and sometimes a form of immortality for the NPCs. Prue says, and many of them had great aspirations to do good for certain people. Yes. Some of them have even lost, if it wasn't for their current profession, their current drive, they would have been quite happy performing some kind of artistic expression, right? The classic one is Hitler. If you've ever seen the Netflix show Luke Cage, the first half of the first season, which is one of the best, the bad guy, not giving out too many spoilers, the bad guy wanted to be a piano player, and as a child, was a savant. Hey, this person, all I want to do is just play music and just be in the moment, live within the jazz and creating this artistic expression for other people to be taken away to another world. And maybe something happened in the background of this NPC, or it could be a community or this nation that forced them to change. So for example, and of course, all these examples off the top of my head, let's say you have a human society and their neighbors were like lizard folk or something. And this human society, they created these statues. They carved these statues out of wood and stone. They formed them out of clay and ceramics or something. And they were very beautiful. And this was like a drive for them. They would erect these statues for their heroes, erect the statues to the demigods and such. And so they felt, well, they met these lizard folk. We're nice. Well, they want food. We don't really need for them to raid us. Why don't we just share everything that we have? And the lizard folk start to share, but they want more and more. And so, unfortunately, they get overrun. So now the people are, almost trapped within their own society, living for the sole purpose of supplying food and resources to these lizard folk, who now just use these people as like slave labor. We want this, you make it for us, or we kill you. So maybe it comes to find out that they start enchanting these statues as like symbols of their vengeance. Maybe some of the people start getting killed and a great curse goes around, and these statues come to life. And these statues, they have no moral boundaries. They just walk and kill, and anything that comes near this community just eliminates everything. So now when the player characters come around, they come to this region where maybe it's a swampy region and there's this great city, but there's really very few people living there. And the lizard folk are hiding in the shadows because they know when they poke their head out, these monstrous statues come stomping through the underbrush to kill and destroy anything. And when they see the PCs, doesn't matter, we're just going to kill you. But they can't turn it off. So now you have an idea that the people have been harmed, but they created this really nasty side effect. The lizard folk are evil, but they need help stopping the statues because they're the only thing keeping them from wandering out into the rest of the world. And so then you have this like dichotomy. So yes, if it's clean, just give it a little dirt. If it's dirty, add a little cleanliness. If it's evil, give it a something to humanize it, something that people can empathize with. And then if it's good, give it a vice, something that people can, your player characters, people in the world look at and just like, are like, that just doesn't sit right with me for this person doing it. I have to give a shout out to one amongst you, Jared, who has created a Discord channel. So for those who don't know and would like to continue discussing any and all subjects that come up, I will be retroactively adding the Discord channel to all of the videos. It's going to take me a little while, but in the notes, of course, is anything and everything you need to follow me, find out what I'm doing, etc. So if you look down below, you will find a Discord channel, and then I will be placing all of the other relevant information. The Critical Hit Facebook group, the things that we do that I help write for Critical Hit on Drive-Thru RPG. Wow, Vincent Shine says, good day from Germany. Well, thank you. Prue Prue says, even a nice noble who can't stop nose picking in public. See, you know what? You can play with little things like that where you're just like, it's the thing where here's this great noble and you want to smile and like bow to this person, but they have a really nasty habit of doing something that just drives you crazy. Whether it's it could be as simple as like you said, nose picking, teeth grinding, chewing on their nails, having a disrespectful tone towards a particular member of society, maybe a disrespectful tone to children or the elderly, or the nobles has a sister and just for some reason just cannot hold his tongue when it comes to publicly tongue lashing his sister. Everybody else is perfectly fine, very reasonable, judges, passes laws and makes proclamations that are very forthcoming, but for some reason just has this really bad attitude towards his sister. Vincent Shine says, I personally like the notion of having a character who seems to be good but actually is evil, or the other way around. Now, in this sense, this is more like, it's almost not really a twist, but it's like pulling the cover back. So, for example, there could be someone who is, or maybe there's a faction that is eliminating, killing people in the city proper. So, for example, there's an evil faction and they're taking these people and murdering them in the streets, right? It almost seems like there's this shadowy organization. They're tackling people in the streets. They're dressed in their dark robes. They're coming out of the shadows and they're cutting people's throats. They're hacking them to pieces and disappearing. But maybe we don't realize that the people they're killing are, maybe there's something inside them. Maybe they are infected with something, or the people being killed are members of themselves of an otherworldly power. And if they are allowed to live, they would then wreak havoc. And this shadowy organization, they have the ability to detect something in their blood or in their mind, or detect the arcane magics or something of this, of these people. But the average citizen doesn't know. They could be lycanthropes. And this shadowy organization is going around and killing those infected with lycanthropy, because they know that when the full moon comes, or when it turns dark, or what have you, whatever stimulus there is, they become these murderous, rampaging beasts. And so no one believes them, and also no one would really want their loved one being killed. So it could be a shadowy organization that is evil in their habits, but their ultimate goal is good. And of course, it's always a slippery slope, right? Everyone thinks of themselves as the good guy. Vincent Shine says, I had an idea for a setting where the evil gods took over and told everyone that they were good guys and have the typically good attributes like light and healing, but using them for evil purposes. Something like healing only to keep torturing them or blinding them with light. Absolutely. And see, I use something like that too, that healing and light do not necessarily need to be the purview of goodness and justice, just as darkness and cold and shadows do not need to be the purview of evil. It seems very likely to do that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. There's a game called Within the Ring of Fire where the god with 1,000 names, I believe, is a version of Lucifer, the morning star, one of the fallen angel, who still is of light and goodness, but has every intention of storming back into heaven and taking back their power. So let's say a fallen angel doesn't necessarily need to turn dark. A fallen angel could still be light and goodness, but have absolutely evil and ulterior motives. Pru says they could be using them for good in some areas, but bad in others, depending on the standing of their subjects. So, for example, there could be, raiders. Maybe they seem to be like these holy knights that are performing all of these brutal attacks. And when people confront them, they're using light and evil to essentially prevent. The city is filled with light to prevent their enemies from hiding in darkness. And they are using healing, like you said, so that they can torture their enemies over and over again, so that you could never escape this world by giving up your life. Vincent Shine says it's something they use in movies a lot recently, where if something is super clean and white, it's almost certainly someone evil. And if you've ever noticed a person, there are two opposing images whenever you see this scene in a movie. The good guy is strapped to a table. The bad guy threatens them with violence and torture. Either they are in a dark, dank room where no one can hear them. You can almost smell the molding urine in the corners, and there's an evil person with no personality pulling out their blades, ready to hurt them, or they're trapped in a pure white room with white fluorescent lights in the ceiling. Almost there's lab techs in white coats and white booties, and it's almost this clean, sterile, pristine location. And if you notice, they always do that dichotomy where the cleanliness itself, the purity, is the evil unto itself. And it makes it even more scary when you have a person who is clean cut and smiling and seems to be have a pleasant attitude when they are also making proclamations of eternal pain or death or something like that. Also, an idea is that you can have a great evil, but the great evil, or the and not even a great evil, because I'm doing this as an extreme, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. So, for example, if you want to use this for your NPCs, maybe you have a mayor or a tavern owner or the head of the thieves guild that picks pockets or something, and it could be that you want to introduce this person to your players, and you're trying to figure out how to introduce an adversary, but that doesn't necessarily become a big bad, right? It could just be a mayor that just doesn't like adventurers. And every time he sees the adventurers, he's, collecting more and more people around him that just doesn't prefer these ragamuffins that are, running out into the wilderness and bringing evil upon their heads. But It could be that maybe the mayor is also one that is he's a great poet, and when the mayor is in his off time, he's sitting on the hillside and writing these great if I Vincent Shives to get out them murder hobos. Yeah, of course the murder hobos, right? You trying to stop that because the first time you end up instituting an NPC like this mayor that I'm bringing up, and the minute they're in opposition, you get a murder hobo, the first thing they're going to want to do is slit their throat and leave them dead in a field. But maybe there are these parchments leaving this great poetry left all over, and the mayor really doesn't want anybody to know that he's got a soft spot, right? He's trying to be, tough and I'm going to stop these adventurers, but really has a really soft spot for poetry, and maybe is writing these ballads or these sonnets about the player's exploits, right? So in public, I hate these guys, but in private, is kind of jealous, but actually supporting their efforts. And so maybe the players may want to go along with it. Darius Jonah, what's going on? I find neutral forces doing both good and bad on an individual scale interesting. In the Shadowrun settings, Johnsons do that very well. Some are neutral, unbiased fences, and others are corp toadies. Yeah, corporate toadies. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to ride that line, right? Where you have a neutral entity that the player characters need to interact with, but they also know that given the circumstances, it'll turn against them. And Shadowrun is perfect for that when they have to, that's why they always call them Johnsons, right? They're these nearly faceless individuals that are their contacts. And the contact is like, look, we've got a job to do. I'm just about the money, getting the mission done, and getting out. And if the first thing you're going to do is, pull out the heavy weaponry and start blasting through walls, that's your fault, and you're left out in the cold. I'm not coming to help you. And so, yeah, just being able to take a little hint of something nasty or untoward, something that's a little annoying, something that in this particular society people look down upon, and then giving that vice, maybe it's gambling, drinking, being loud and obnoxious, having an unmitigated prejudice against a certain class of people, being vulgar, having something hidden in their lifestyle, meaning like when they go back to their private residence, maybe there's something there that they, this powerful knight that is protecting the land but abuses animals, right? And you're just going, well, you can't let this person get away with abusing animals, and everyone's like, you can't arrest this knight because we need that powerful knight to defend the realm. And how interesting would it be? The players is like, no, he's abusing animals. He's an asshole, right? I'm pointing this out, and it could be that the people change their opinion, or some of them just they look the other way, and we do that in our own society. We look past, we make compromises for some people's behaviors because of the end result of what they can give us, and going very far with that, pushing that very far, especially like in our those people who serve us in a public capacity, whether they are politicians, whether they're scientists, whether they are police or medical professionals or teachers or coaches or something like that. How far is it that Prue says a perfect example are certain priests, priests, police, the judges. How do you measure the good that someone does for society? For example, we have I'll take someone who was a movie maker. Roman Polanski was accused of child rape here in the United States and left the United States and has not been brought back to the United States for justice, but created during his time as a director, created these powerful moments in history of these movies that are highly rated. Do you destroy the creation of this person who committed this great evil, or do you judge it on its own merits? And that is a big thing when it comes to judging anything. A sports player, do you admonish a sports player for the criminal activities they're involved in, whether it's drugs or abusing their girlfriend, or reckless driving and drunk driving or something? Or does their record stand and you put an asterisk on it? Those kind of things. And we are in that. We are in the midst of that now, where we have very powerful people who have used their position to, sexually dominate another group of people, and they are creating for the rest of society, our entertainment and things that shape our culture. So we can absolutely use these things, and especially if we start them out small and then have them grow and grow and grow, especially if someone is good and they have this little hint of evil that starts to grow like a little nugget, and then you just start to water it like a seed, and it just grows and grows because this individual is able to get away with it more and more. Vincent Shine says it's super hard doing that to people in history too. For example, not being racist is a relatively new development, and almost all historical people we know were racist in some way or another. Perfect example from me is that I was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And in Philadelphia, there is the Liberty Bell. And next to the Liberty Bell is a big open field with a stone. Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft is a perfect example of that, where if you read H.P. Lovecraft and those of that ilk, like Conan and H.G. Wells and that era, they were very, very racist. But they were classics, right? So next to the Liberty Bell is this open field of grass, and on it is a stone. Next to the Liberty Bell, in the past, in front of the very building that our Constitution was signed and written, they sold slaves. That grassy field used to be a building where they sold slaves, and they've never built anything on it. There's not really anything you can say about it. There's no reason to erect a monument on it. It has always been left this open field, and there's a stone that slaves would stand on top of, and that's where the birth of the United States came from. It's part of history, and my ancestors' part of history is represented by a stone with their bare bleeding feet and chains on their ankles, where across the way is just a building with, you can go in for free and see the Liberty Bell and all these great men that signed this document to create this place of great freedom, and right in front of it, slaves were sold. So everything, how we look at history can mean different things. And so if you take a fantasy or a sci-fi setting, right, where humans have a different lifespan than, say, elves. So elves may live 1,000 years and the humans only live 100. It could be that the elves still remember those original racist human beings, but the human beings are like, those were just in the past. We don't have any relationship to them. We don't owe you anything, right? But the people who still remember it are like, yeah, you do. You put us in this position. You came after us. We still remember it. We want reparations for it. So you can have different things where you have ages and cultures that clash over things that still remember one portion of history and not the other, or find more importance in one than the other. Vincent Shine says even Einstein said some mean things about Indians and Asians. It's similar in my country, Germany, too. We learn to respect others the hard way over a long time. And in the Middle Ages, it should be normal to be racist and vulgar and swearing, etc. And that's where character growth comes from, right? People start out with their own agenda, their own personalities. What's the show? Vikings on the History Channel, right? The Vikings, they live to plunder and kill and murder, and they don't see anything wrong with that, and killing their own brothers and sisters and family members and stuff. And then they go out and sail out into the rest of the world, sailing all the way into the Mediterranean, having these confrontations with these other people who don't believe in Odin and Thor. They believe in, a Christian God. And now it's like, well, do I learn from them? Are they considered evil? How is it that these people still exist? Why aren't the gods punishing them? Why would I stop raiding and pillaging and murdering? I don't see what the problem is with that. And then when confronted, they are considering the Christian people who are saying, hey, we're going to put our hands up. We're not going to fight you. And yet they're looking at that as not only making them easy victims, but they don't see anything wrong with killing unarmed people, going into their churches and killing them. And so then when they bring that knowledge back to their own people, how do they end up reacting with that as well? So again, we're over half an hour into this. You guys understand what I'm talking about, right? Where to twist, and you can do this with an NPC or a bad guy, and not initially, but you can add in something that could very well change the dynamic, right? So in the beginning, I talked about this grandmother that made these pastries, but maybe at night, her and her young nephew are hiding something in the pastries and sneaking them down into the dungeon so that the criminals or something could escape at night or whatever, or what have you. Or maybe she has a family member that was imprisoned and she's trying to help them escape or dig out or whatever, what have you. And this person could be a very evil criminal, could be a serial killer for all we know, but she loves him and here she is trying to help him out. And so the grandmother and the little 8-year-old nephew is sticking the chisel or the key inside of the pastries and taking it around. Do you punish her for it? Maybe it's a capital offense for doing that. In this society, the society is very good and open, and they want everybody to treat it equally. And this person was a criminal, and we arrested him, but she broke the rules. So, if it's a capital punishment, do you hang her for breaking the rules, for possibly releasing this great evil into the community? She knew what she was doing was wrong, and then do you then change your opinion towards her? Well, she didn't really mean to do it. And then how does that affect everybody else who's being punished in the same way, right? Prue says she might also make and provide poison for women who are in violent relationships. And see, here we go with this idea that here's this person that everyone's like, oh, she's so nice and she's so innocent, and yet she's this I guess the term would be like nightingale. She's this femme fatale of sorts, like Prue said about providing poison for women in violent relationships. And these men just, oh, he died on a hunting accident. No, he was out on a sailing ship and just fell over the edge. I don't know. I think maybe he came down with some kind of disease. He just passed out and died or something. And then maybe someone actually finds out, does an autopsy, which might also be evil. Hey, we just bury our dead or we just burn them. Don't cut into the bodies, and someone suspects, I think they're being poisoned. And so then maybe even that in and of itself might be counter to a particular culture. Thereby, someone who does an autopsy on a body might become labeled untouchable and might be exiled out of the community. Vincent Shine says it could get even more morally ambiguous. She might also heal people or help them with drugs that keep people pacified. True. So, for example, maybe she's like a hidden agent amongst the community. The reason the community has thrived so long isn't really that they get along, is that she's been pacifying the aggressive tendencies of some. So, for example, like Drogor, the evil, he's like a violent man. He's a barbarian. He's abusive to his wife. He's got a couple of mistresses. He's abusive to them. The town's guard can't stop them, but he sure does love these pastries. And whenever the grandmother invites him around, all of a sudden, he just seems to become more of a mellow person. And maybe he's got a couple of dead bodies in his barn. And maybe the grandmother, she's like, well, I love this community and people, they'll just kill him. And I don't want him to die either. And it'll just, this will just break everybody apart. How about we just hide the bodies? We won't let anybody know. And I'm pacifying him now. Well, I'll just make sure everything is nice and neat and a tight little bow. And we'll just say that the people that he killed left and never came back because they were scared of him. And we'll just leave it at that. Prue says, all the while she truly believes that she's truly and utterly a force of good in the world. Exactly. So then she starts hiding. She starts doing more and more insidious things, pacifying people, controlling their minds. Bruce, who says in air quotes, oh, he was such a good boy. Oh, good morning, Grimchild. Hello. Yeah. We're just talking about adding a little sprinkle of evil into the goodness and a little goodness in the evil. And, you could take something as simple as an innocent old grandmother that just loves to make pastries in the morning and hand them out to people, turning this individual into, although they may not believe it at all, into a great evil who is slowly and surely manipulating people in the background. This grandmother could eventually be an old hag in the world who ends up making these people into her, almost like her slave army or something. If she's extremely good with alchemy and learns to make these different recipes, maybe she can turn them into a monstrous type individuals just for the purpose of saving everyone. Because sometimes we do need, a good defense against our enemies. Vincent Shine says, I got to use this old lady somehow. This sounds like an awesome and powerful NPC. The players may even like to keep her alive because her cookies work similar to magic potions and they're cheap. Yeah, absolutely. And see, here we go with Harry P says children make the best pastry filling. That's nasty, but maybe necessary, especially if let's say the children are poking their heads around a little bit too much. And this old grandmother and here's the idea, right? She does not in any way think of herself as evil, as many people do not consider themselves to be evil at all, even when performing evil actions. But it is this slow spiral that I think is the best story, right? This slow spiral down into doing more depraved things and just rationalizing it all as, well, I'm just doing good. Vincent Shine says, damn childs keep eating my house. Let's put them in the oven. Exactly. Prue says, hag, she could be really, really old and have decided that she wants to be good, but every time she tries, over time, her efforts eventually turn bad. And see, here's what a great way for having those extremes in your society turn to the other side, right? It's the eternal fight of celestials and fiends and demons, devils against angels, where a fallen angel is an angel doing good and going through further and further, deeper and deeper into the idea that, well, I'm doing this for the greater good. I'm enslaving these people because if I didn't, they would harm themselves. I'm being good. Well, I'm murdering the evil. I'm not giving them a chance to redeem themselves because, well, I know that they will eventually become evil. So I'm ridding the world of evil. That's why I'm killing all the pregnant, orc women and the orc children. It's because, yeah, they're going to be evil anyway. It's just rationalizing it away. And remember, strangely enough, evil could go the opposite way too, right? Where, I'm evil and I'm big bad and I have no feelings or emotions. I just kill people and I enjoy it. And then they look around and they realize that they've created nothing. that all they have is destruction. And so a song that they hear, a painter that is great, they want to save their life. And oh, there's an apothecary who is a healer, and this healer, well, I'm going to save the life of the healer. How many stories have the great evil, whether it's Dracula, whether it's a person with an evil empire, always wants to keep their young daughter nice and innocent and don't want to see the world, or they have a loved one that they want to have them dress in pristine clothing, and oh, I don't want you to see what I'm doing on the outside. The drug dealer that always has the mistress, and it's just like, you don't have to see my other work. I don't need you to hear this. They're always washing the blood off their hands at the last minute before they come in and kiss their family good night or something like that. And how much so when their loved one, or their love of art or poetry or dance or of this society grows and grows, and their loved one says, listen, I don't want you harming these people anymore. And the evil person's like, okay, I'll do what you say. I don't want you torturing them. Let them go. All right. There's also the idea of the classic mob, where they know they're engaged in evil, racketeering, bribery, threats, drug dealing, prostitution, but they take care of the community. The old lady down the street, you don't touch her. She's down the street, you don't touch her at all. This was a real thing that happened in Philadelphia. An old grandmother was knocked down and her purse was stolen. Come to find out that the grandmother, and this was in the mid 80s, I believe, maybe late 80s. The grandmother, come to find out that she was related to one of two mob families. And it hit the news. And of course, when it hit the news, the police not only wanted to find the purse snatcher, because it was a petty crime, mind you, a little violence connected to it, but they knew that the mob would try to find this individual and wreck all kind. They would go medieval in this guy's ass. Lo and behold, not only did the purse show up randomly, but more money was placed in it than was stolen when the purse was taken. Now, I don't remember exactly who did it or if they ever found this guy, but that's just one thing where you could have a city where it's very safe to walk the streets, because the evil overlords are like, hey, you live in this city, you can do whatever you want. You just never harm our people. You can live in freedom. You have, free food and shelter, and, engage in song and dance, and I will protect you and love you forever. But if you leave, hey, that means you're my enemy. If you're not my friend, you're my enemy. Vincent Sign says, how far will players go to save the person who can keep the big bad evil guy in check? Interesting. And imagine, if you will, I cannot remember the video game where the evil guy at the end of the video game, and I know this has been used plenty of times, but I can't remember the title. Anyway, the big evil guy at the end of the video game says, at the very end, I was only trying to take over because I knew of a greater threat to society, right? Grimchild says in a monotone voice, the greater good. And there's always that idea, the greater good. That's the big argument with alignment. Maybe I'm going too deep into the alignment fight, right? But, you get into Dungeons and Dragons and alignment, and there's this, in our society, we always think, well, if the person thinks they're good, then they're absolutely good alignment, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story, but their thoughts and actions dictate to the rest of society who and what they are. Vincent Shine says no one thinks of themselves to be evil at all. And even those people who know they are committing evil acts do so with a purpose. So, for example, it's the idea of Yeah, don't worry about it, Grimchild. So it's the idea of a doctor discovers a cure for disease, but found that cure by experimenting on the homeless. Right? This person's been going around and maybe came up, maybe works in the deep dark dungeons of a major corporation. Finds out that there is a cure, but you have to extract it out of the glands of innocent people, and the deaths of those innocent people could save tens of thousands of lives. So, right, Vincent Shine had the same exact idea I did at the same time. But what is evil? If you kill one man to save two, is this evil? How about killing one to save 1,000? Right? Grimchild says, "Die a hero and live long enough to see yourself become the villain." And what a great way to twist your story, especially if you have enough time to set forth this idea that maybe someone evil in the world kills someone, they're the bad guy. But then you find out that, well, if they start killing more, that their efforts are leading towards ultimate peace. The Watchmen series, graphic novel series, in which I call him Ozymandias, in which he creates, in the Watchmen series, he created an artificial creature, psionic creature from another world, and in the movie, it was Frank Frey. Hey, what's going on? Good morning, my fellow gaming gray beard. What's going on there, Frey? Haven't heard from you in a long time. Glad to interact with you on any level. But in the Watchmen series, here's a good guy who realizes that being a superhero is stupid, right? The idea of running around in tights and all this, that's not being a hero. Being a hero is bring ultimate peace. How do we bring peace? We kill 1 million people. We kill 1 million people, create an enemy, and that enemy will unite everyone together. Does that make that person evil or good? And finding that answer, as gamers, sometimes we try to find that answer, and it's not necessary that we find the answer. It's the this is the idea I have for another video is one big mistake we try to do is find the answer to questions that don't need answering. It is the journey to finding that answer is the great thing. Vincent Shine said, I've seen too many people who seem like nice and good guys, but once they got in a position of power, they just became horrible persons. Imagine that happening in a campaign. Turn on the news, wait 5 minutes. You're going to see that playing out. How easy is it for someone to be very idealistic, right? I want to change society. I want to stop oil drilling, and I want to save the environment. I want to feed the homeless. I want to change the laws in our land. I want to stop children being killed. I want to have free healthcare for everyone, right? Great ideas. I want to feed everyone. I want to save everyone. I want to house everyone. I want to stop murdering and pillaging. But getting to the point of power to change it, how many of those people who are now actively against doing what we consider to be a very simple thing? How hard is it to feed children? How hard is it to take care of people? Why are you against helping people? But getting to that point, what choices did they make, and how has their morality been chipped away at for them to rationalize what they are? And who am I to say that I wouldn't be that exact same person given the same circumstances? Grimchild says, in true cosmic goodness, I think that the end never justifies the means, and people should never be used as a means to an end, only in an end of themselves. And that is very true. But sometimes, any post-apocalyptic setting, book, movie, graphic novel, television show, zombie apocalypses, are perfect examples of challenging one's morality, right? Grimchild says death is a part of the natural cycle, and there are far worse things than death. Yes, losing is living longer, but not being human, right? When your morality has been, taken down to the point where, you're in a post-apocalyptic, zombie apocalypse, and oh well, we've got to kill the children, we've got to kill innocent people. Society needs to live, but we need to exile those other innocent people, or that kind of thing. Frank Frey says, have you ever read Immanuel Kant? And no, I haven't. Sorry there, dude. But maybe I will. Vincent Shine says, the problem is that absolute statements are never true. Something like true cosmic good does not exist in our world. No human could ever achieve this. Well, here's the idea, though, right? That achieving, the act of attempting to achieve something is a goal unto itself, and trying to achieve it could be a measurement of your humanity, whether you fail at it or not, as opposed to the person who gives up on struggling to achieve a cosmic good. And while someone could fail, maybe we're talking role playing here, right? So maybe in this society, it's not whether you've failed or succeeded, but it is a struggle to get to that point. So if you've given up on being good, or you're struggling to do good, it's the person who steals to feed their family. Are you just a thief, or are you stealing to feed someone? Are you just stealing food just because you're like, well, it's sitting out there, it's free, I'm just going to take it, I don't care? Or are you going, hey, I'm hungry, and I'm stealing food because I am hungry, I don't want to steal? And that's, making those judgment cases is exactly the kind of thing that is a mystery that your player characters would love to uncover, or may not uncover at all and realize that they made a mistake in hindsight. Grimchild says, Vincent, you're right in the real world. However, in a fantasy world, cosmic good can objectively exist. Absolutely. And, Vincent Shine says role play is a reflection of life and vice versa. So here, of course, again, is the challenge, right? In a fantasy world, and of course in literature, mythology is what I'm saying, there is a cosmic good and a cosmic evil. It is when those clash in our material world that mortals end up having this idea, where we're always screaming at the gods, like, listen, your cosmic good is doing evil to me, right? As opposed to saying, like, your cosmic good is correct and I'm wrong as a mortal. The idea is that we are mortal, we have mortal lives. Your cosmic good and your cosmic evil is clashing to me, and then I am the end result of that. I'm the ant you're stepping on your way to watering your flowers, right? Poo says any extreme holds within it its own opposition. It's a quote I've always loved, like the yin yang sign. I find it very inspiring. Grimchild says, at least there are powerful beings, gods and angels, that believe the cosmic good is real. Grimchild says exactly. And Vincent says, but how would you portray that? Because something that truly objectively good would do nothing but sacrifice itself for others. Where is the drama in that, other than an example of being a martyr? I think you could do that as not for a player character, but as an example to the player characters, right? So for an example, imagine a cosmically good, let me delve into this just a little bit. Imagine a cosmically good being that is willing to sacrifice itself for a temporary good now, but if this cosmically good being lives, would do greater good later in its life, right? So someone wants to do good now, and it's like, I'm willing to sacrifice my life and I want to save 100 people. But everyone knows if you sacrifice yourself to save 100 people, your impact in society is far greater. If you wait, don't don't save those 100 people right now. I understand you want to save them, and I understand those 100 people are on the outskirts of your society, and you want to protect society. But if the evil horde, if you take your army and go protect those 100 people, you are not going to defend the 10,000 people in your community today. So don't save those 100. You need to protect the 10,000. And so you could have two individuals who are absolutely good. A knight that wants to save 100 people, a knight that wants to protect 10,000. Who's right? It doesn't. My point is, let's not try to decide now who's right. Let's use that as fodder in the game to uncover those things, and maybe never knowing who is right, but just living with the consequences. So it's creating a problem without the solution. Poo says, by the way, this reminds me of a WebDM's video on dragons where they talk about the metallics. They have some great points about the good aligned dragons. Frank Frey says, when you commit lesser evil in the name of greater good, then you taint the cause. Of course. Grimchild says, it's a mortal struggle between good and evil that allows choice to matter. Poo says, I'm not smart enough. This is going real quick. I'm not smart enough to imagine absolute good or evil. I'll admit that right away. I'm with you right there. So here we go, like with the good dragons, the metallic dragons, right? If let's say a gold dragon, the height of goodness and law takes over a community, maybe an island nation. I think in Pathfinder, their world, Galorian, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Pathfinder, they had a gold dragon that lived on an island and was basically like creating a eugenics program with these people on this island. Is the dragon good for not allowing these people to leave, and could literally be killing various members of that society so that they would breed to become an even greater version of themselves, right? So guys, we've passed the hour mark. Thank you so much. If you want to continue this discussion and any others, I have to thank Jared for creating a Discord channel for me. Thank you for inviting me as a fan, because I'm a fan with you guys discussing these things. It is not my idea it's not me that's telling you what to think. It's us coming together, just coming up with these ideas, man. Grimchild says, thank you, DBJ. No, thank you. This is my coffee in the morning. It's 6 a.m. or now it's 7 a.m. in the morning here for me. This is how I wake up. This is basically, it's all right. This is my way of giving back to the community. I don't get to play as much. Vincent Shine says, thanks, man. That was fun. I hope you use this time spot more often. It's perfect for me. No. Okay, let me make this clear. This is my daily time spot. This is Monday through Friday. Every single day I do this Monday through Friday. So I call it my demi-daily deep dive because there will be times I might not be feeling up to it or what have you. But Monday through Friday, join me at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will put up the link. Usually it's about 10 minutes. If you subscribe to the channel, get a little notification. But anyway, it's 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So whatever your time zone is, you kind of have to calculate it out. Each day is a different subject. So Monday is Monster Monday, Tips and Tricks Tuesday, World Building Wednesday, my favorite Third Pillar Thursday, which is about the environment. And then I have a love for science fiction, is Eclipse Phase Friday. It's all about futurism, transhumanism, that kind of thing. The entire discussion is always wrapped around role-playing games. Like I said, I don't get to game as much. So this is my way of like getting in the gamosphere. I'm a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing. My little brainchild is the cinematic environs. But don't be twisted. I'm not the guy that does all the writing in Critical Hit. Myself, Alex, and Rob, we have adventure keys that have come out. Our first adventure key has been released. They are only 3 to 4 page long adventures. Our first one has already been released. It's pay what you want. It's on Drive-Thru RPG. All the links will be listed below and once I get this done. But anyway, yeah, Vincent Shai, do you try to play online? I do, but my day job, I work 6 days a week and I never know when I'm getting off work. I work about 60 hours a week. My 10-hour day is a good day for me. So yeah, I can never, if I promise I'll get online, then I promise to get online, and I never know if I'm going to make it, and I don't want like to bow out, and then we people with different time zones, it sucks, dude. It absolutely sucks. So yeah. Now golden handcuffs, I get paid well. Don't feel sorry for me. I mean, I've become accustomed to the lifestyle in which I've become accustomed, but what have you. So anyway, I gotta cut this. Let me just say goodbye to my wife. Bye, baby.
Oh, I love you.
Love you. So guys, thank you very much. Like I said, there's a Discord channel. You guys can talk amongst yourselves if you prefer. Also, I'll join in a Discord channel here and there when I can. And what have you. Thank you very much. My brain's just starting to go on me a little bit. So guys, thank you for joining me again, 6 a.m. morning, Monday through Friday. Check us out on a Drive-Thru RPG under Critical Hit Publishing. Check out the Adventure Keys. Oh, the next cinematic environment is going to be released. Number 8, which is Plains and Grasslands. One of the most boring locations in the world. We've taken that, twisted it. Just how I'm having this conversation with you for an hour is how I write. So it is taking that and delving into all the little intricacies over and over and over again. So guys, thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it. I cannot believe so many people get up in the States at like 6 a.m. in the morning. So have a very good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.